Page number 76, third paragraph. I have a more personal answer to the question. From my childhood, I have been attracted by mountains. I had been miserable, lost, when away from mountains in the plains. Mountains are nature at its best. Their beauty and majesty pose a great challenge, and like many, I believe that mountains are a means of communion with God. So, Ahluwalia has personal answers of his own to the above questions. From his childhood onwards, he has been attracted by mountains. He feels unhappy and lost when he is away from mountains in the plains. And according to him, mountains are nature at its best. He is very fond of nature. Its beauty and majesty pose a great challenge, and like many, he believed that mountains are a means of close relationship with God. We all know that the God Almighty was doing many miracles in the nature. We can see many disasters like a flood, soil eruption, then storms, everything. And like that, we can see the nature is filled with beautiful flowers, plants, birds, animals, everything. So we can say that it is a miracle by God. We can see the season changing. So Ahluwalia was also believe the power of God and the beauty of nature. It is because of that only he was saying mountains are a means of communion with God. Communion means state or feeling of close relationship. Once having granted this, the question remains, why Everest? Because it is the highest, the mightiest, and has defied many previous attempts. It takes the last ounce of one's energy. It is a brutal struggle with rock and ice. Once taken up, it cannot be given up halfway even when one's life is at stake. The passage back is as difficult as the passage onwards. And then, when the summit is climbed, there is the exhilaration, the joy of having done something, the sense of a battle fought and won. There is a feeling of victory and of happiness. So, Ahluwalia says that a question arises why he chose to climb Everest. He says that the first reason is that he has always loved mountains. Everest is the highest and the mightiest of them all. Mightiest means most powerful. It is a great struggle against rock and ice. So, after climbing this peak or summit, there is a joy of having done something which only a few can do. Looking at the peak from a distance, Ahluwalia is transported to another world. He has a mystical feeling. In fact, the difficulties of climbing Everest are huge. But this is what attracts him to it. It is a challenge that he finds difficult to resist. Ahluwalia says that the call to face the challenge of overcoming the obstacles was irresistible. So, according to him, Everest is the highest, the mightiest, and has defied many previous attempts. Defied means frustrated or disappointed or resisted. So, it will take the energy, or we can say the ounce of one's energy means even the less energy of a person will be given out to fulfill this dream. So that much energy is needed to fulfill this task. And he's saying that it is a brutal struggle with the rock and ice. So in the course of that journey, there will be many rocks. Atmosphere will be at times hot and at times very, very cold. So once that task is taken up, means it cannot be given up halfway. Even when one's life is at risk. At stake means at risk. Somehow they have to, or the person who is climbing the mountain has to complete that task. There is no any other way. Once started means there should be an end. And the passage back is as difficult as the passage onwards. That means coming back is most worse than going or climbing the mountains. And then when the summit is climbed or the person reached at the top, there is the exhilaration. So what is the meaning of exhilaration? Excitement. The joy of having done something. The sense of a battle. What is the meaning of battle? We can say war, isn't it? So when we achieve in a war or when we become victorious in a war, we will feel a sense of joy, the sense of a battle fought and won. There is a feeling of victory and happiness that will come to one's mind when he reached at the top of the peak. Glimpsing a peak in the distance, I get transported to another world. What is the meaning of glimpsing? We had already studied that in the previous lesson. A momentary vision, isn't it? So, glimpsing a peak in the distance or getting a view of the peak in the distance. He says he gets transported to another world. I experience a change within myself. Which can only be called mystical. Mystical means having strong attractive features. But its beauty, aloofness, might, frigidness, and the difficulties encountered on the way, the peak draws me to it as Everest did. It is a challenge that is difficult to resist. So by its beauty, aloofness means isolation, and the difficulties encountered on the way, the peak draws me to it as Everest did. It is a challenge that is difficult to resist. And what is the meaning of ruggedness? We can say coarseness. Encountered means faced. So, Ahluwalia was saying that climbing Everest is not just a physical achievement or contest. It brings fulfillment and fame. Besides, the experience is emotional and spiritual also. Looking back, I find that I have not yet fully explained why I climbed Everest. It is like answering a question, why you breathe? Why do you help your neighbor? Why do you want to do good acts? There is no final answer possible. And then there is the fact that Everest is not just a physical climb. The man who has been to the mountain top becomes conscious in a special manner of his own smallness in this large universe. So as I said, it is not just a physical climb. It has got an emotional touch. Our world, we can say it is a large universe, and one is climbed the mountain and fulfilled his task. He will get a sense of joy, or we can say that we can fulfill our dream. The physical conquest of a mountain is only one part of the achievement. There is more to it than that. It is followed by a sense of fulfillment. There is the satisfaction of a deep urge to rise above one's surroundings. It is the eternal love for adventure in man. The experience is not merely physical, it is emotional, it is spiritual. So we should prepare mentally and physically in order to conquer something or in order to achieve the mountain. And there is something more to it than that. That is, it is followed by a sense of fulfillment. We should have an urge in our mind to rise. Because we will have many hindrances or obstacles to face while overcoming a situation. So we should be ready. Our mind should be ready to fulfill that adventure. It is the eternal love for adventuring man. Urge means we can say a desire. So we should have that desire in our mind, that firmness. Then only we can achieve the task of getting up into the mountain. The experience is not merely physical, it is emotional, it is spiritual.